Discuss today is the procurement and storage of animal food in the wild for survival or long-term thriving in the woods. Now, there are many ways that you can do it. Personally, I think prepping is important for food and for everything else, but I mean for food I think prepping is very, very important. Be prepared, be ready. Have dried goods, you know, and easy eat accessible foods available. I have a good amount of dried foods, dehydrated foods, you know, the just add hot water type foods. I have a decent amount of that set back for emergencies. And I'm not talking crazy end of the world type stuff here. I'm really not. I know I tend to maybe sometimes get that way, but what I'm talking about is just plain normal everyday emergencies. I live in Indiana. We have tornadoes every year. There are sections of my town that at least once every 2 or 3 years get completely wiped out. So just that in itself is a reason to prepare. Not including some of the freakish snowstorms we get here. So anyway, be prepared in that manner. As far as keeping foods, like catching foods, and hunter-gatherer type stuff, I love the hunter-gatherer attitude. Now, I will say, in all honesty, and a few videos that I've done shows for real that I am not always thinking to the future. That's one of my problems. I don't really necessarily think to the future about a lot of stuff. If you guys have seen my puffball mushroom video, the jaunt with Jaden, that mushroom that he was holding was edible. It was a very viable, edible mushroom. I'm not really a mushroom person, so I didn't really think about the future on that. And Jaden doesn't have the same mentality I do, so he's just goofing off with it. He threw it down a hill and it just shattered. And I mean, it was a perfectly great mushroom. After that, I'm like, man, I should have kept that. So I went back looking for more, and they're all turned. They're all done. They're no longer edible. So, you know, I was going to dehydrate it, and then I was going to powder it, and I was going to use it for stews and to add to stuff to add flavor and things. But now I can't do that because I wasn't thinking in that hunter-gatherer attitude. Now, as far as catching wild game, trapping, in all honesty, from my experience, and we'll talk about that later, but from my experience, trapping's hard. It is hard, and by no means is it guaranteed. I mean, just yesterday, like I said yesterday, I set out what, 3, 4, I set out like 5 traps yesterday, and all I caught was just a small little possum. Now, in a necessity situation, would have I let that possum go? No, 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 no. It was small, but its hide could have provided a little bit of fur for something. You know, I could have started making a glove out of it, or I could have, you know, something. You know, so the fur could have been used. The meat, wasn't a lot there. But if I'm living out here, you know, every little bit helps. Plus, say I didn't decide I didn't want to eat it. You know, I could have used it for bait, for something else. So even a little small possum like that I would have not let loose if my situation was different. But so, you know, trapping is not an easy thing. People say, oh well, I'll just set out some traps and then I'll just go off and do my own thing, and then I'll come back and I'll collect, you know, if I set up 10 traps, I'll collect 10 animals and that. No. Those are the people that don't trap. Those are the people that don't really go out and do it, because it doesn't work that way. Not from my experience. Now, you may be a type of person that can set 5 traps and every day go out and catch 5 animals. Or you can be the type of person that goes and sets out trout lines, and you know, you can go out and you got 50 hooks on your line and you can catch 50 big fish. You know, you may be that person. I'm not that person. You know, I set out a trout line and you know, I could catch nothing for days, and I'm sure not going to catch little minnows. If you tell me that you set out trout lines, and I don't even care if it's the smallest little hooks you can get, if you tell me that you're setting trout lines out and you're catching minnow-sized fish, I'm talking like inch and a half fish on that trout line, I'm going to straight up say it. I'm calling bullshit on that one. But that's just from my experience. I have never caught minnow-sized fish off of trout lines. Just haven't done it. I'm going to use minnow traps that, if I'm lucky enough to purchased, or if I make, and most of them I make. So I'm going to use minnow traps or nets. That's how I'm going to collect small fish like that. Not on trout line, but I digress. Or do I? You catch an animal. So regardless, okay, we'll use that possum that I caught this morning. We'll use that as an example. So you catch that possum, all right? You're gonna have to keep it because you need food. You need its fur for some reason. You're gonna use it for trapping or fishing or something. You're gonna use it. So you gotta keep it, but you don't need it right now. You don't need it today. Maybe you're gonna need it tomorrow. So you got to keep it alive, because the importance of food, especially live food, is that live food does not spoil. You can keep an animal at camp for days, weeks even. Just throw it a little scrap, you know. If you can tie it up, fine, tie it up somewhere. If not, couple ideas that I have, and this whole thing is just where this video is going to be. This was what I was wanting to talk about, even though I go off on my other tangents. The 2 ways, other than just tying it up somewhere, that you can keep an animal is, 1, have a cage of some sort set up. Like, you know, if you have a metal trap cage, live trap cage like I have, keep it at camp and throw your animal in that, and you can keep it for as long as you can feed it. If you don't have one of those, or if you do and you're using it, you can make wooden cages, or you know, you can go anywhere on this planet at this point and find metal, and you can make a cage. Or if you have to, dig a hole in the ground. Dig a big enough hole in the ground and toss it in the hole. If you have to line it with rocks or with aluminum cans, or if you have to line it with something so it doesn't dig its way out, do that. Build a nice little top for it out of sticks or whatever. Or if you got a log or whatever big enough, throw it over top. Stick some rocks on top of it. But build a nice little top to it, and keep it locked up until you need it. I mean, that would be good for a day or 2 anyway. Even if it was an animal that burrowed and you didn't have any way of lining your pit, I mean, you could still keep it a day or so before it started digging a hole big enough to get away from you. So if you see that happening, time to throw it in the pot. So anyway, think about keeping what you trap alive until you need it. Because that possum again, I'm going to go back to that possum again. I don't need it. And then I'm not going to need it in a day. I'm not going to need it in a week. I hope I'm not going to. well, I can guarantee you that I won't have to have it for a month or so, but you know, I don't want to run out all of my food sources, you know, just to keep that possum, you know, around. If I have a choice and I'm trapping and I'm fishing and I'm hunting, what I catch is what I eat first. My stash, my backup, that's what it is. It's a backup. It's for when you don't have that other stuff. You know, let's say you got a 5-gallon bucket of beans sitting around. So, you know, you want that 5-gallon bucket of beans to last as long as possible. Now, would it suck if all you ate for 2 weeks was beans or rice or macaroni? Yeah, it would suck. I'm telling you right now, it would suck. I know for a fact that it would suck. Try eating MREs for 2 months. And I mean, that's it, MREs. Try eating those for 2 months straight. Believe me, it sucks. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. Now, if I can go out hunting, trapping, fishing, and supplement that so that I don't have to use that food, fantastic. But there again, you know, if I do, I do. So this whole video was basically kind of a statement about if you do have to hunt, fish, gather, trap, any of that stuff, you know, if you're doing it for survival, you're probably going to have to keep everything that you catch. And just try to keep it alive as long as possible. You know, if I catch a squirrel in that small trap, you know, I got a choice. Got 3 choices. I can keep it in that small trap, and then I don't have that small trap to use. I can put it into a larger trap that I have at camp, and hopefully that's specifically what it's for, so then I don't have to worry about it. Or I can put it into a larger trap and then not use my larger trap. Or I can just tie it up somewhere and keep it, or stick it in a hole and keep it for a day or 2. Or I can just whack it in the head and stick it in the pot right here and now and eat it. You know, that's basically your choices. So depending on your situation, you get to make that choice. So I don't know if this video is even, yeah, I honestly don't even know whether or not this is a good enough video to post. You know, I don't know if I've rambled too long, but I'm going to try to piece it together, and hopefully it turns out to be a pretty decent video, and I hope you guys get a little bit of insight and a little bit of knowledge. So, and speaking of, let's start talking about the next issue, and that'll be my next video. The difference between knowledge, skill, and experience. Get right back with you.